The Marcos administration rebrands the government-wide infrastructure push to build better, more. President Bongbong Marcos promised in his Monday SONA that Duterte-era projects will be retained while the list will be expanded. In a post-SONA briefing Tuesday, Public Works Secretary Manny Bonoan cited specifics: more expressways to connect Ilocos to Bicol and Luzon and cut travel time to 9 hours from the current 20 hours. More bridges across the Pasig and Marikina rivers to decongest roads in Metro Manila. Develop seaports, airports, and inter-island connectors, plus more and longer train lines. Unlike Duterte, Marcos is keen on more public-private partnerships this time around.
We will continue actually to entice the private sector to continue with our public-private partnership program in addressing actually all the necessary transport programs that are viable for the private sector.
The Transportation Department put 7 railway projects at the center of its plans. 4 are in advanced stages: the Metro Manila Subway, the North-South Commuter Railway, the extension of the LRT Line 1 from Pasay to Cavite, and the MRT-7 line funded by San Miguel Corporation. Undersecretary Cesar Chavez says the Cebu, Panay, and Mindanao train systems will be up for review by the economic team.
Yes, we have the fiscal space. The Duterte administration is leaving us some easily 200 ready-to-implement projects.
We do not have to borrow as much as we did during the crisis years.
The Budget Department says infrastructure funding will increase every year to reach 2 trillion pesos by 2028, the end of Marcos's term. Economic managers count on this construction boom, once promised under Duterte, to drive economic growth between 6.5% to 8% in the next 6 years, reduce poverty, and cut public debt. The team wants prices contained and pandemic scars healed in the short term. Cabinet officials also commit to more business-friendly policies for more investments.
Creation of jobs actually would be done largely by the private sector, and we would like to really work in tandem with them.
The state of the economy is sound. So my advice to the private sector is trust your government. We're behind you.
Officials see manufacturing, IT, tourism, agriculture, mining, and the services sector as engines of growth. Melissa Lopez, CNN Philippines.
While senators vow to support President Marcos's 19 priority bills in his SONA, 2 of them found his speech lacking. Amor Santos tells us why.
President Bongbong Marcos wants Congress to pass 19 bills, right-sizing the bureaucracy, other tax reform packages, an e-governance system, and reverting mandatory ROTC training in senior high school, to name a few. Senate President Mig Zubiri calls the wish list comprehensive and feasible.
Kausap mo, Pinky, yung trabahador ng Senado. Kayang-kaya yan. We have to go through a fine-tooth comb with all these measures. Of course, the tax measures emanate from the House, and we're all willing to work 24/7.
Senator Sonny Angara says a number of the bills were tackled in previous Congresses, like budget reform and land use. Albay Representative Joey Salceda says 10 of these were passed on third reading in the House, so committee deliberations may not take long.
Well, I think basta nasama sa listahan ng Presidente, pag-uusapan yan sa LEDAC, pag-uusapan sa leadership ng mga dalawang kamara, so definitely na-enhance o lumalakas ang tsansa na maipasa.
But Minority Leader Coco Pimentel asks, what happened to prioritizing food security as Agriculture Secretary?
Sana at least majority doon o marami doon nakafocus like a laser on food production. Even the reorganization of the Department of Agriculture, kung kailangan yun, it should have been a priority legislative measure.
Pimentel also questions the silence on justice and human rights, contractualization, and federalism, which is the cause of Mr. Marcos's political party, Partido Federal. Senator Risa Ontiveros says she wanted to hear about anti-corruption efforts, something even the president's sister also hoped to hear. Ontivero says the SONA sounded like a window shopping exercise.
Wala pang vision. Kumbaga, kung gamitin na nga natin yung image na window shopping, parang lumabas ng bahay, may errands na gagawin, pero walang malinaw na objective pa para sa household.
The two-member minority bloc says its number and a separate independent group in the Senate won't hinder its function.
Always outnumbered, never outfought. So kahit bilang minority, mas kaunti kami, pero sa mga issue na kailangan naming tayuan sa floor, ay tuloy-tuloy naming gagawin iyon.
Joining the minority is open to all up to the end of this Congress. Welcome!
Previously at odds during the Duterte administration, Pimentel and Ontivero say they will discuss differences in opinion. The two earlier filed their first resolution together, a call to free detained former Senator Laila de Lima. Amor Santos, CNN Philippines.
Over at the House of Representatives, Deputy Speaker Isidro Ungab says lawmakers can fast-track the president's priority measures by adopting an internal rule. Ungab cites Section 48 of the House rules that provides a shortcut for the passage of bills approved in the previous Congress. The rule states that a priority bill filed in the immediate preceding Congress and passed on third and final reading can be considered as, quote, disposed of at the committee level upon the approval of a majority of its members. This means there is no more need for committee meetings for priority bills, and they can be referred straight to the plenary.
Kung merong mga refinement na gagawin, well, pwede pa ihabol. But with the presentation of the President kahapon, it was a clear path and a direction that we could follow, and I believe it's both implementable and we will be able to come up or craft the necessary legislation that would expedite the implementation of these plans and programs of the President.
On to the House leadership. The son of President Marcos has been elected Senior Deputy Majority Leader despite being just on his first term as a congressman. Ilocos Norte Representative Sandro Marcos's designation was announced on the second day of the sessions. Sandro's uncle, later Representative Martin Romualdez, is Speaker of the House. Meanwhile, 4P's party list Representative Marcelino Libanan is the new House Minority Leader. Northern Sama Representative Paul Daza says members of the minority bloc elected Libanan yesterday. Libanan was one of Marcos's main supporters in Eastern Visayas during the campaign. COVID-19 cases in the country could reach as high as 19,000 daily by end August, but health officials say the figure may be less with better vaccination numbers. The lowest projection is at nearly 6,200 cases per day. Right now, new infections range between 2,000 and 3,000. While the uptrend in cases continues, health officer in charge Maria Rosario Vergeres says she stands behind President Marcos's position against lockdowns.
In response to the President's directives, we've discussed this with him that yes, there won't be any lockdowns anymore. In spite of the continuous increase in the number of cases here in the country, we are seeing that the severe and critical cases are plateauing.
Malacanang earlier said it plans to revise the COVID-19 alert level system. The controversial vape bill lapses into law after the president failed to sign it as of yesterday. The measure lowers the age of those who can buy and use e-cigarettes from 21 to 18. Health and education officials and some medical groups strongly oppose the law, exposing the youth to harmful effects of vapes and e-cigarettes. The previous 21-year-old limit was based on the law regulating access to heated tobacco products. Higher taxes on vaping products are expected to provide funds for the Universal Healthcare Program and other health facilities. Straight ahead on Newsnight, while experts laud President Marcos's independent foreign policy, they're calling for concrete action, especially on the maritime conflict with China. And authorities filed multiple complaints against the gunman in the fatal shooting at the Ateneo de Manila University over the weekend. You're watching CNN Philippines. This is CNN Philippines. For progressive groups, President Marcos's first State of the Nation address was lacking or not enough, not just because of the issues they said he left out, but also because of how he addressed some concerns. Anjo Alimario filed this report.
I know this in my mind. I know it in my heart. I know it in my very soul. The state of the nation is sound.
This is nothing but a fairy tale, quip some progressive groups.
Kailangan lang niya kasi lumabas sa Malacanang, makihalubilo sa ordinaryong tao. I mean, these government officials, marami sa talaga sa kanila, parang napaka-detached o napakalutang, napakalayo, no, dun sa dinaranas ng mamamayan.
A leader should lead by example, Kilusang Mayo Uno points out.
May utang kang buwis sa mamamayang Pilipino at sa gobyerno. Bayaran mo muna yung buwis na yan.
For teachers group, the president has little sense of urgency. That's why they're grading his SONA with, pun intended, needs a lot of improvement.
Wala nga pong detalye kung paano matitiyak yung kaligtasan ng pagbabalik ng paaralan. O kaya yung matagal na kahilingan, itaas ng sahod. O bigyan man lang ng budget yung mga benepisyo ng kaguluhan dahil sa sobra-sobrang pagtatrabaho nito. No?
A students' organization fears the mandatory ROTC will be used for power tripping.
Pinakamasahol, pinaka-nakakalulungkot na nakita natin na epekto ng ROTC ay yung hazing at yung humahantong pa nga sa pagkamatay at sa matinding karahasan laban sa mga estudyante.
Attendees have given the president a standing ovation when he talked about building specialty hospitals in the regions. But for frontliners, he must first address the root cause of understaffing in health facilities.
Dagdag tayo ng manpower kung magtatayo ng mga hospitals po, sana wag muna yun ang unahing i-focus, idagdagan muna ang sahod ng ating mga health workers bago siya magpatayo ng mga specialty hospital.
Gabriela is not at all impressed with the president's view on violence against women. It feels it should go beyond mere counseling.
Kung susolusyonan yung matinding kahirapan, matinding gutom, kawalang trabaho, na nagtutulak sa mga kababaihan na maging biktima ng karahasan at exploitation, sexual exploitation.
As for issues apparently left out such as human rights, corruption, and peace, Bayan says it's either President Marcos wants to avoid controversies or it's just not his priority. Anjo Alimario, CNN Philippines.
The National Defense Department supports some of the priority bills put forth by President Marcos during his SONA. The DND says the proposal to revive the Reserved Officers Training Corps, or ROTC, in senior high school will greatly enhance efforts to involve the youth in national defense preparedness and response. The department also backs amendments to the National Defense Act, as well as a unified system of separation, retirement, and pension for military and uniformed personnel. And the DND says it will follow the direction set by President Marcos to build stronger relations with other nations, but without compromising sovereignty. For the DND, the president was firm in a statement. He will not abandon an inch of the country's territory to any foreign power. President Marcos swore to protect the country's territory while reiterating that the Philippines will remain a friend to all, enemy to none. Find out what experts are saying in this report by Tristan Nadalo.
I will not preside over any process that will abandon even 1 square inch of territory of the Republic of the Philippines to any foreign power.
The president is unequivocal. He will not waver in defending the country's territory.
With respect to our place in the community of nations, the Philippines shall continue to be a friend to all, an enemy to none.
The commitment is anchored on the so-called independent foreign policy, and that dialogue and consensus building are the ways to resolve conflicts.
We hope to see necessary steps being taken in pursuit of such a strong and bold opening statement.
Another expert says an independent foreign policy is a delicate balancing act since the Philippines is in a strategic and vital location in the region.
There are also caveats and dangers. This is expensive in a way that
In terms of rhetorics, it's very nice to hear about it, but when you implement it properly, this is a little bit scheming because, of course, we have defense treaty alliance with the United States, and also we are forging a stronger partnership with China and some other emerging great powers.
There was no mention of the 2016 arbitral ruling and the West Philippine Sea dispute in the president's first State of the Nation address, while another analyst says President Bongbong Marcos's remarks were carefully crafted.
It's not really politically safe at this time, to qualify or to insert the arbitral award. The immediate follow-up was that we will remain close friends or partners with everyone else. So there's that balancing act in the SONA.
Former Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin Jr. says the friend-to-all, enemy-to-none policy is not new, but it has been effective in managing the situation in the region. He adds the Marcos administration may reopen talks with China on joint oil and gas exploration, but it should make sure these are within constitutional limits. To help President Marcos realize his vision of an independent foreign policy, experts agree that the country must have a credible defense system and make sure to spell out the country's national interests while engaging with two global superpowers, the United States and China. Tristan Udalo, CNN Philippines.
In other news, the Anti-Graft Court has denied a government appeal on the dismissal of a civil case filed against the family of President Marcos. In a 12-page ruling issued on July 22nd, the Sandigan Bayan's 4th Division affirmed its initial decision, finding the Presidential Commission on Good Government failed to back its claims by evidence or with evidence. The case sought to recover a total of 200 billion pesos of alleged ill-gotten wealth from the Marcoses. It was initially dismissed in 2019, but the government filed an appeal. Former Sandigan Bayan 4th Division Chairman Justice Alex Quiroz penned the decision. Malacanang announced Saturday President Marcos appointed Quiroz as chairman of the Governance Commission for Government-Owned and Controlled Corporations, a body which oversees the quality of managing state-owned companies. The gunman in the fatal shooting at the Ateneo de Manila University in Quezon City faces more charges, this time from police. Chrissy Di Matulak with this update.
The Quezon City Police District has filed a string of complaints against Dr. Chow Chow Yumol, the identified gunman in the shooting in Ateneo last Sunday, which took the lives of 3 people. Yumol was charged with 3 counts of murder and frustrated murder in relation to Section 29 of RA 10591, or the Comprehensive Firearms and Ammunition Regulation Act, violation of RA 10883 or the New Carnapping Act of 2016, and malicious mischief amounting to 80,000 pesos. The cases were filed before the Quezon City Prosecutor's Office on Monday evening. Meantime, Lamitan Basilan Mayor Oric Furigay is still in Manila to organize the wake of his wife, who was the target of Yumol in the shooting. He recalled that they were only a few cars away from his wife and their daughter Hannah, who was about to graduate.
Mga 500 meters lang kami, kaya na-traffic kami. No? Mga 5 or 6 vehicles kami na naman. They went directly to this yung sa may Arete building. Kami naman sinenyasan kami ng security guard na to park our car yung sa parking area. So doon namin nakita nung nag-scamper na yung mga tao, the parents, mga graduates.
According to Furigay, the feud between his wife and Yumol started in 2019 when his wife, who was mayor at the time, issued a cease and desist order on Yumol's clinic.
Ang Ministry of Health naman ng Bangsamoro, they found out na he is operating illegally, walang lisensya. So he was advised to get the permit to operate. Hindi rin niya na-comply. The BARM government, through the Ministry of Health, issued the cease and desist order para hindi siya mag-operate.
Their daughter Hannah was also wounded in the incident. According to her father, Hannah was greatly traumatized by the ordeal as she saw up close what happened to her mother. The Furigay family plans to take the remains of the former mayor back to Basilan this week. Other than the former mayor, her executive assistant Victor Capistrano and Ateneo security guard Genevieve Bandiala were also killed. A donation drive was recently launched by the Ateneo community for Bandiala. The university said that it is extending financial assistance to Bandiala's loved ones following the tragedy. The Ateneo Law School's graduating class also launched their own donation drive to help the slain security guard's family. Chrissy De Matulak, CNN Philippines.
Ateneo is also holding a mass for Bandiala on Friday. Rival school, the De La Salle University, expressing solidarity with Ateneo in praying for the victims and their loved ones. La Salle also says it is praying for justice to be served and for violence to end. The police say one of the guns used during the shooting belongs to a member of the Philippine Army. The .45 caliber pistol owned by a certain First Lieutenant Jeremy Aquino went missing in the province of Sulu back in 2019. Based on records at the Firearms Explosives Office. Another gun used, a 9mm pistol, belonged to the shooter himself. We're bringing you more news after the break. What is Olympic pole vaulter EJ Obiena setting his sights on next after a historic podium finish at the World Athletics Championships? Plus, another gold for Heidelin Diaz, but this time on her finger. Updates on the Filipina weightlifter's wedding next. Welcome back to Newsnight. Sports news first. EJ Obiena makes history in pole vault yet again, earning the Philippines' first medal in the World Athletics Championships. But as Pauline Versosa tells us, the 26-year-old has more plans to bring glory to the country on the world stage.
Another Asian and national record has been set by Filipino pole vault sensation EJ Obiena. On Monday, the 26-year-old cleared 5.94 meters to clinch the bronze in the World Athletics Championships held in Eugene, Oregon, USA. Obiena is the first ever Filipino to get a medal in the prestigious competition.
I think it just solidified what I already knew I am capable of, which is, competing with the best in the world.
Obiena has churned out his best performance yet despite encountering major setbacks, including a months-long controversial rift with Patafa and a battle with COVID-19 last month.
I'm very thankful that I didn't listen to those words that said, just give up. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I stick around, and I'm proud that I am able to do what I did.
Following another historic feat, the Tokyo Olympian says he's determined to get even better, especially with the playing field getting tougher and fiercer, as world number 1 Armand Duplantis of Sweden shattered his own world record at 6.21 meters. Obiena's next goal, to finally clear the 6-meter mark.
There's only 24 people who have done that in the history, and I want to be the 25th. And I'm very happy that the sport is progressing. Of course, I'm very happy that I'm part of this era where, the level of pole vaulting is in such a high level. But at the same time, it just shows that, I need to work a lot harder to reach the things that I want to do. And the win the championship that I want to win.
Congratulatory messages have poured online for the reigning Asian record holder. Obiena is set to compete in 2 more international competitions in Poland and Hungary next month. Pauline Verzosa, CNN Philippines.
Another big day for weightlifting champ Heidelin Diaz, exactly a year after clinching the country's first Olympic gold medal. Heidelin and her coach Julius Naranjo tie the knot today in Baguio City. Former Vice President Lenny Robredo and boxing icon Manny Pacquiao are among the wedding's principal sponsors. The couple got engaged last October, a few months after Diaz won at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics in July. Now in music, the UK will take over as host of the 2023 Eurovision Song Contest on behalf of Ukraine. Ukrainian band Kalush Orchestra won in 2022, meaning its home country would have hosted the next event. But because of Russia's war in the nation, the duty was passed to the UK as runner-up. Organizers say they will work with host broadcaster BBC to include Ukrainian elements of shows. Adele is ready to step into the Las Vegas limelight, announcing new dates for residency in the U.S. city. 24 rescheduled shows will run from November 18th to March 23rd, and she added 8 performances. In January, the singer postponed her residency at Caesars Palace because half her team caught COVID-19. The move was met with disappointment from fans, with some flying in for her shows. And that is it for tonight. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pio Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
We know how vital our eyes are in going about our daily life, and we must know how to keep them healthy just like the rest of our body. Now, some eye disorders result in blurry vision or even vision loss, so it is critical to prevent and diagnose eye problems as soon as possible. In today's episode, we'll refresh our minds on basic eye care and have a good view of what to do when our eyes start having issues. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. Your eyes are your windows to the world. Our guests are here today to tell us how to better care for our eyes. With us is Dr. Victor Efraim Paulino. He is a comprehensive ophthalmologist and glaucoma specialist from the Makati Medical Center. Also with us is Dr. Joy Go. She's an optometrist and AVP for marketing at Ideal Vision Center. I'll start the discussion here with Dr. Rem. I think it's safe to say that many people may take their eyes for granted. Those who have the gift of vision really use this every day for almost everything they do. But how delicate ba ang mata natin, and how important is it to really take care of our eyes?
Taking care of eyes starts upon waking up. The moment we wake up, we make sure that our eyes are clean, that all the dirts from the night are washed off, and throughout the day, the eye should be properly lubricated. We take time to rest, and the number one cause of consult for eye problems is blurring of vision. So I think from that alone, there's a lot of diseases and problems that we can talk about.
The DOH reports that vision impairment is rampant, very rampant among Filipinos, citing a report from the World Health Report on Vision that an estimated 2.2 billion people suffer from a form of vision impairment, including nearsightedness, glaucoma, cataracts, as well as error refractions. What is causing a lot of Filipinos, for that matter, to be affected by low vision?
It's not just Filipinos. All of us has some degree of error of refraction or grado in Filipino. So some people have myopia or nearsightedness, hyperopia, or farsightedness, astigmatism. And some people, because of age-related deterioration in vision like presbyopia, or in more advanced cases, cataracts and glaucoma.
Yung mga problema when it comes to vision, ang pinaka-common dyan is error of refraction. Pag-usapan natin yon, what are the different types and what do they mean?
Hyperopia is the error of refraction. You're having a hard time looking at near, malinaw sa'yo yung malayo. And then myopia is nearsightedness. So malabo sa'yo yung malayo, malinaw sa'yo yung malapit. And then presbyopia is you have this error of refraction wherein the near part, you have a vision you have error between near, sometimes far as well. But you're having a hard time with the near vision.
Ano yung mga simptomas na mararamdaman nila na mahihirapan sila?
The blurring vision for them usually occurs like on near because at the far they can actually see quite well. And then pag sa near, doon nila nakikita na merong blurring at some point. And then there are times na merong distortion for combination of hyperopic astigmatism. So that's mainly the symptoms that occurs when they have hyperopia. Although there are some symptoms also that is connected with that with regards to headaches, and squinting, and that.
Let's talk about nearsightedness or yung mga myopic. Anong mga simptomas? What do they feel on their day-to-day if they haven't gone to a doctor yet or they don't know what nearsightedness is?
The first complaint is they start with a headache and then they move towards blurring of vision at far. So mapapansin nila meron parang haziness. That's the first thing that they complain, and people would actually ask that, na parang malabo pero hindi ko sure. That's like low-grade myopia. And then usually, pag mas mataas na yung, then totally they cannot see far or clearly. But if it's very, very low-grade, they have this tendency, malinaw siya, but then they have to squint for them to see clearly.
I'd like to talk about other causes that are common here in the Philippines with regards to low vision. And that is particularly glaucoma. And I want to talk about cataract because a lot of viewers have heard of this term, but they probably use them interchangeably. But let's start first with cataracts. How are cataracts formed? What are they?
Cataract is a form of degeneration of the lens. As we grow older, starting about around 60 years old, the lens thickens. That's why instead of having a very clear crystalline lens, nagkakaroon na siya ng shade of yellow, brown, until it's so thick enough, so dense enough that it can impair your vision.
Let's talk about now what glaucoma is. Glaucoma, of course, affects a lot of Filipinos as well.
Glaucoma naman is the leading cause of irreversible blindness worldwide. Cataract, that is reversible, but glaucoma, that's irreversible. That's nerve damage already. So it's a group of diseases that causes cell degeneration and affects our vision permanently. It's a slowly progressing disease. Not all can have it, but dahan-dahan kinakain yung paningin ng isang tao because of glaucoma.
Cataract is a disease entity on itself as well as glaucoma, which have their own triggers as well as risk factors, which we will be talking about after this short break, as well as how to properly fit corrective lenses. Keep it here on MedTalk Health Talk. We'll be right back. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk. Now, before the break, we were discussing the importance of eye care as well as the difference between certain glasses that are used in order to correct a certain type of vision impairment. Joy, when it comes to correcting our error of refraction or yung pagka-nearsightedness, pagka-farsightedness natin, glasses are typically the choice in order to correct this. How important is it na tama at accurate yung salamin na pinagawa para dito?
The importance of having properly fitted glasses is very helpful if you have like this error of refraction. What happens normally when you have unfitted or yung mga medyo hindi tama sa grado mo is you tend to experience more symptoms instead of being relieved pains. When you experience headaches, you don't want to use the glasses, which can, instead of helping slow down or prevent the rapid progression of the eye problem, ang tendency nun is hindi mo na siya gagamitin.
What's important here is the place that you go in order to get your glasses or your properly fitted corrective lenses. Now, let's start first with what a lot of our viewers, I'm sure, have seen in different optical shops, which is the autorefractor. Now, Joy, what is this autorefractor? What does it do? What type of information does it give optometrists like you? Kasi napakadali lang ng itong mabilis lang itong test na to.
The autorefractor is basically a machine that we use to give us an overall idea of how the health of the eye of the person is. So it gives an overall look on the parang physical, structural, mga ganyan. And then it goes in depth into the error of refraction. So it gives us an insight of what eye condition is right now.
A lot of people may just have a autorefractor test done because normally it is free of charge and they go on their way. Is this enough information? Okay na ba ito to have properly fitted glasses just with the autorefractor?
Autorefractor just gives an objective look on the condition of the eye. Many people do not go into the subjective refraction. The subjective refraction actually gives the actual capability of the eye to handle the prescription.
The way that the optometrists will do now after the autorefractor is put you in front of a phoropter. Dito yung maraming lenses. How important is this part naman, Joy?
This one, the phoropter kasi, would actually give the patient yung kung ano talaga yung actual na nakikita nila based on the subjective. The reason why it's called subjective because this is where the patient would react to the prescription that is being put in front of his or her eyes.
Now, when it comes to glaucoma, what is important here, that it is preventable if it is spotted early and something can be done about that. Let's talk about that. When it comes to risk factors, how should we advise the viewers here when they should have a test for the IOP or tests for glaucoma?
If you have a family history of glaucoma, if your parents, siblings, or lolo, lola that has glaucoma, if you have an advanced age of 45 years old or 50, and you have symptoms, glaucoma has a very non-specific symptoms like headache, blurring of vision, eye pain. So those are the things that you might consider going to your eye specialist or eye doctors.
Let's go with cataracts first. You mentioned it was thickening of that lens. So kapag ang vision ng isang tao na may katarata becomes so pronounced that their function is impaired, it is reversible. Mababalik na sa dati kapag ang katarata. Is this correct?
Yes, considering that there's no other problem in the eye, it can be reversible. You can have a 20/20 vision.
Okay, so what is it about glaucoma that once it happens, wala nang balikan to, irreversible na?
Glaucoma is different because it affects the nerve, yung ugat ng mata. The damage that is incurred by the axons, yung cells ng mata, once it's damaged, it dies already. So it's irreversible.
Let's talk about prevention. Let's talk about early testing para ma-spot kung sakali. With these risk factors, if they are present, how often should someone be tested for glaucoma?
Well, if you have a risk factor for glaucoma and no other signs or symptoms, at least annually, you can visit your eye doctor starting the age of 50 or 60. An eye exam for glaucoma starts every time with the visual acuity. We check your refraction, and then using a slit lamp, we look into your eye, and then a special test, getting the pressure of your eye, applanation tonometry, checking your angles, gonioscopy, and looking at the back of your eye, looking at your nerve to see if there's any signs of glaucoma.
Now, speaking of spectacles, now I'd like to ask Dr. Joy. Joy, sa panahon ngayon where gadgets, computers are a mainstay of everyday living, halos lahat ng tao nasa harapan ng screen, there's what's called blue light that these gadgets emit. Could you please explain to us what blue light is and meron bang way in order to protect our eyes from this blue light?
Composed of the spectrum of light. So there is like the Roy G. Biv part of it. And then you have the blue light. So the gadgets emit the blue light, but these are harmful blue lights. There is a good blue light and there are harmful blue lights. So when we use there's this lenses that's called the blue protection. Usually what it does is technically just, it blocks the harmful blue lights, but then allows the blue light in, the good blue light in to go to our eyes. So we can actually still see colors. Because there are lenses that would declare that they have 100% blue blocking properties. What that does is it technically blocks all the blue light. So tendency was doon nagkakaroon ng people would actually come back and say, how come? Yung nakikita ko, hindi ko makikita masyado ang blue. Everything seems like medyo muted ang color blues. And that is because the lenses that was made is it blocks 100% of the blue light. But then our eyes still needs the good blue light for us to see the colors vibrantly or clearly.
Okay. Coming up, we'll give you everyday tips on how to prevent eye damage. Your health is our mission here on MedTalk Health Talk. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. Now that you're ready to take care of your eyes, let's find out some simple as well as practical tips that you can do in order to keep your eyes healthy. Now, Rem, let's talk about ways in order to prevent any deterioration in general for our eyes. Let's talk about glaucoma for this matter. What can our viewers do that they can control in order to prevent or limit their risk for glaucoma?
Well, unfortunately, there is a very limited thing that we can do with glaucoma. And the only thing that we can modify at this point is IOP pressure. So we can only modify it by applying medication. And we can only know the best medication for you if you have your eyes checked out.
How about mga cataracts, Rem? Are there any modifiable things that our viewers can do to prevent the formation of cataracts?
We can do something about cataract. Smoking is a trigger for early onset cataract. Diabetes, elevated sugar can predispose a person to early cataract formation. Yung hindi tamang paggamit ng steroids can also cause cataract formation. Protecting our eye because trauma can also trigger cataract formation.
Joy, when it comes to our nutrition, paborito yan ng ating mga viewers, anong pwedeng kainin para gumanda ang health ng ating mata?
You have to take your vitamins. Vitamin A, which is, di ba, always found in the yellow. Yung mga dilaw na mga gulay is essential for the clarity of the eyes as well as night vision. And then vitamin C, yung mga fish, vitamin C as antioxidants. And then omega-3 and 6, yung mga isda, yung mga ganyan. That also helps. Lutein, which is found in yung mga leafy vegetables. I think the diet should be a balanced meal. So you have your meats, you have your fish, you have your fruits, and your starches. So I think yun yung mga things that we actually should eat. I know it's very famous that you only have to eat yellow food, but then when you eat yellow food, there is this tendency naman na maging, sometimes they would show naman na yellowish yung skin. So it's always like a balance of A, vitamin C and E, and then you have these foods about omega-3 with fish and meats, and as well as vegetables.
Now, when it comes to our eye health, we have to also mention that of eye drops. Dr. Joy, pag-usapan natin yon. Ang daming mga eye drops available na pwedeng bilhin over the counter, yung iba pa via prescription. All of these are either to lubricate the eye, there's artificial tears, or even sodium chloride for what? For overall general eye health. What would you prescribe?
Normally, like especially now that people are always engaged with their digital gadgets and everything, dry eye is very prominent right now. And hindi yan just being seen because like before, dry eye is usually seen as you age, right? But now even the kids can experience dry eyes. And usually they're now given like this non-steroidal eye drops just for cleansing and, to lubricate further the eyes. And then yung iba naman, if there is severe dry eyes, then there is like a more viscous type na drops that can, depending on the dry eye severity po.
Now, speaking of those eye drops, I'd like to ask Dr. Rem, a common scenario here in the Philippines is definitely sore eyes. I'm sure a lot of our viewers have heard of it. Now, immediately, a lot of our viewers might think, I need to get these eye drops that have a vasoconstricting, that takes some of that redness away. Is this the right eye drop to use for such a eye condition?
For sore eyes, there's a lot of causes. It can be viral, bacterial, it can be irritant, and it can be allergic. So I would advise patients not to just buy an over-the-counter medicine. It's better to seek consult first and let us determine first the cause of your red eye before prescribing any medication, because just applying vasoconstrictor will just remove the redness, but it will not address the main problem, which can be an infection.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rem Paulino and Dr. Joy Ong, for being with us today. We appreciate your time in sharing your expertise and your insights on eye care. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and thank you for watching MedTalk Health Talk. We'll see you again next time.